Trading Solutions. I hope you're all well. I hope you're looking after yourself. I hope you're being kind to yourself, looking after your family, looking after yourself, cats, pussycats, whatever you've got, and just being kind to people in the world generally, just to make this a better place. I love this cryptocurrency market. It's so interesting. Honestly, I find the most interesting things every day. And I just, I thought I'd share these with you. There's just so much out there and just so much interesting stuff. And this is a magazine from Cointelegraph, and it's a monthly one that goes through all the main events in a month. I just love it. It's great. So there's a timeline. You can go to any sort of timeline you like. And just over the month of March, we'll just go through it. And it was talking about analysis claims 98% of mining rings fail to verify transactions, which is interesting. The 2nd of March, West Virginia decides against using Votus blockchain-enabled voting. I just like a summary of things, and I like to see what's been going on in the month, just to rehash what's happening. Also, I will say I think the crypto market from here on in, it's now April, is going to really rally. I've got a feeling it's going to go higher, and it's going to be quite a good month this month. So I think that's my personal view. I think it will go higher. On 3rd of March, crypto industry employees are working from home due to coronavirus. We know that got worse and worse over the month. Ukrainian officials need to report crypto holdings as intangible assets, which makes that interesting. I wonder how that affects tax. I have no idea. 5th of March, BitGo launches its first institutional lending service, which is great. That means that instos can actually borrow money to buy crypto, which is going to get more usability in terms of the crypto markets, which is great. We need more institutionals in the market, that's for sure, so that we see a lot more professionals in the market, and hopefully professionals will value cryptocurrency where it should be. There's a lot of cryptocurrency that's valued certainly where it shouldn't be valued, particularly if the technology doesn't work, then the cryptocurrency itself shouldn't be worth anything. That's a fact. CEO Brian Armstrong from Coinbase explained how crypto can go truly mainstream on the 6th of March, and I agree with him. It really can. Obviously, with coronavirus and everything else, we don't want to use cash, and certainly cryptocurrency could go mainstream, and the one that could go more mainstream than anything else is XRP, because it works, the technology works, and it settles within 3 seconds. Let me just have a cup of coffee, guys. Oh, nice coffee. I need coffee in the morning. 7th of March, Bitcoin coronavirus search traffic overtakes Bitcoin halving, which is interesting. Retail demand might force the SEC to approve a Bitcoin ETF. I don't think it will. I mean, an ETF is an exchange-traded fund for Bitcoin, and I tend to think that because there's a lack of supply in Bitcoin itself, only 21 million, any sort of futures contract or ETF, exchange-traded fund, it's going to have a larger volume, and there's a disbalance, if you want to call it that, an unbalance between the two. We've got futures where they can have a limited amount of futures being released, but on the physical side, we've only got 21 million Bitcoin. So in my mind, futures should never have been allowed before this market, the physical market of Bitcoin being 21 million and everything else we know, got some traction amongst institutional investors as well as the retail investors. You need volume in that market and understanding that market before you start talking about futures markets, where there's unlimited issuance, there's no restriction to issuance, and also the futures market can certainly push around the physical market, okay? So I don't think they should bring this in. It's almost like having, the horse before the cart, so to speak, in my mind. And, again, do consumers really understand what an ETF is, exchange traded fund? Often when the markets come down in a big way, in a big way like we've seen over the last month, particularly in equities and that sort of thing, exchange traded funds tend to do worse, okay? So, and sometimes there can be lockup on exchange traded funds as well, lockup, wider spreads, it can be much more costly. So I don't actually think they should allow the Security Exchange Commission. That's my view, because the cryptocurrency market is very young. It's got a lot of amateur players in it, and it hasn't come to basically it's not truly mainstream at the moment. So that's my view anyway. Okay, here we go. 9th of May, the Belgian government will sell 125,000 of seized Bitcoin. That would have been through, obviously, someone stealing it and, through malicious attacks and that sort of thing. A judge has slammed Craig Wright for forgery and perjury. Now, Craig Wright basically is behind Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and he basically says he is the true Satoshi. But the reality is he hasn't proved that he is the true Satoshi. He said he had the private keys for a lot of Bitcoin that are sitting in a trust, and he still hasn't come up with those private keys, and he hasn't really proved that he is the Satoshi of Bitcoin. So, with Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, which is BSV, did start trading, up quite a lot. And there's a big competition between Bitcoin SV and Bitcoin Cash. There's a big dispute between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Now, Bitcoin Cash was Roger Ver, and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is Craig Wright and a fellow called Air. And these two guys went off and spun out from Bitcoin Cash because they didn't believe in a change in Bitcoin Cash's protocol with Roger Ver. Okay, so the coins both split, and if we look at the splitting of those coins, it basically, as I said, went into Bitcoin Satoshi Vision as per Mazzari. So what we had is the split basically went into a hard fork. There was a result of a decision of dispute over a canonical transaction ordering, which would have enabled the graphene algorithm to run efficiently in script enhancement, enabling Oracle data to be imported into the blockchain. Bitcoin Satoshi rejected these proposals and instead planned to increase the block limit to 128 MB and later to increase it to 512 MB in a hard fork and restore certain opcodes from the original Bitcoin protocol implementation. So the thing is, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision wanted to be more like Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin from the Satoshi paper, but Bitcoin Cash wanted to go into another direction. So there was this split off between, obviously, Bitcoin Cash, which is also known as Bitcoin ABC, and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. And so these guys, Roger Ver and Craig Wright, there's a lot of argy-bargy. Also, if you look at the price action between the two, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, they've traded around each other's price. So at one stage, Bitcoin SV got to the same price as Bitcoin Cash, and then they sold down Bitcoin SV and vice versa. So people are tending to spread those two cryptocurrencies, but also trade them within themselves. So next one, if we look at the 11th of March, those attending an ETH conference in Paris are urged to test for coronavirus. The 12th of March, Russia cracks down on so-called anonymous dark networks. 13th of March, the MakerDAO community conducted a debt auction to cover a 4 million hole. Now, don't forget, MakerDAO, there was a hack of MakerDAO, and I did a video on this for my Patreon clients, and they nearly lost all their coins. Okay, the technology was hacked into, and MakerDAO nearly lost all their coins. Okay, not a great story. So they conducted a debt auction. I don't know how that went, but it was a $4 million hole they had to place, which is not great. 14th of March, Robinhood community is not pleased about its service outage. So again, I don't use Robinhood, but some people do. I don't know whether it's physical cryptocurrency or cash for difference cryptocurrency. I suspect it's cash for difference cryptocurrency as well, so be careful that you trade the physical cryptocurrency rather than the cash for difference. Circle's stablecoins saw major growth in the wake of the market meltdown. Now, just with stablecoins, they're not stable. They are connected, say, to the US dollar, but if the US dollar is going down, which we have seen the US dollar go down in recent times, it means the coin itself is going to go down as well. Also with stable coins, it depends on how much hedging they have against the US dollar. So US dollar tether, for example, it turns out, there was a fiasco about that about 9 or 12 months ago, where Bitfinex only had 77% of hedging of the US dollar tether. So technically speaking, US dollar tether should be at 77 cents to the US dollar, okay? Right. The 16th, MakerDAO is considering supporting USDC as alternative collateral. Okay, that's interesting. 17th, Bakkt reveals a direct pay integration with Starbucks, which is going to get more utility for the exchange of Bakkt. MakerDAO approves USDC as collateral. 19th of March, Canada tightens its crypto regulations. 20th of March, Tether launches on the Bitcoin Cash Network. 21st of March, Sanya Lofa rejects accusation of improper trading. 22nd of March, seller wants to challenge Libra and hopes for less red tape. 23rd of March, Tim Draper wants to invest in India's cryptocurrency renaissance. Now, if India goes big in cryptocurrency, it's going to be a huge, huge market. Don't forget, India's got about 1.1 billion people in India, which is a lot of people. And if that opens up, it's going to be huge, huge for any venture capitalist like Tim Draper. 25th of March, Vitalik Buterin proposed a solution bridging the Ethereum and Bitcoin blockchains. Mt. Gox creditors meet at the reimbursement process, slowly move forward. 26th of March, alleged Telegram sex crime ringleader paraded in public in Korea. 27th of March, Robinhood faces another class action lawsuit for its platform outages. I would not use any platform like Robinhood. I only use the very large platforms like obviously Binance, Coinbase, Gemini, Bitfinex, and maybe just a sprinkling of others, but only the very large ones, okay, that are regulated by the SEC, that are insured, but also have 12 to 13 million clients. 28th, World Health Organization launches a blockchain enabled platform for fighting the spread of coronavirus. 29th, global crypto community comes out in full force against coronavirus. 30th of March, Tron launches a platform that looks a lot like MakerDAO. Interesting. And then we go to the stats, and as you can see, Bitcoin did come off from the start of March to the end of March, but I do believe that Bitcoin from here is going to rally. I think it's going to go higher. I just feel it was off about 25%, and technically speaking, it really shouldn't be following the equity market, okay? This is different technology. It shouldn't be following the equity market. But as I said before, we do know that markets are connected by cash, okay? But it shouldn't be following the equity market. The dominance of the 1st of March was 64%, and that went to 65%. Ethereum again went down from 219 to 133. Dominance 9.8% to 8.4. XRP 23 cents to 17, down quite a bit, 24%, but not as much as Ethereum, which is good, and a little bit less than Bitcoin, okay? Dominance 413 to 424, so dominance actually increased, interesting. And Bitcoin was down 28%, Litecoin down 32, so XRP performed better than these two, which is great. Dominance from 2.3 to 2.23, and Litecoin 1.53 to 1.4. I don't like Litecoin much these days, because I know it's got other miners and it's got a different protocol, but I just don't I just don't think it has a real case, to be perfectly honest, in terms of usability. The numbers for the month, the amount by which Bitcoin difficulty factor was reduced this month, 13%. The amount of debt MakerDAO had to cover after the Ethereum crash was 4 million, okay? Keep an eye on that, because I don't actually like the sound of that. And I know these guys had a hack as well. 2 trillion, the size of the Corona-19 economic stimulus was 2 trillion, and that certainly was the biggest package that the US has ever done in its life. Huge. And I often wonder where the money is going to come from, to be perfectly honest. The smart contract speed increasing teased by crypto company Waves. We did see Waves go up this month, okay, by 70 times, and there was different quotes in the market. Andreas Antonopoulos. It will crash hard because a lot of venture capital, corporate investments and private investments based on cheap money will dry up. Spokesperson for MakerDAO. DAO is decentralized because there's no central authority that mints or custodies or approves people's access to it. I'd have to look into that, because the thing is, how many nodes they have. I mean, decentralization is about how many nodes a technology has, and the administration of that technology. Does the transactions validate through the technology, or do they validate through the administrators? Okay, so you need to have a look at that in terms of the technology. I never believe what I read. I always check it out first. Okay. Frank Holmes, interim executive chair of Hive. The acquisition provides with an advanced operating Bitcoin mining facility ready to transition to next generation mining hardware with access to some of the lowest electricity on the planet. And Binance, don't forget, they took over coin market cap, 400 mil, it's just been confirmed. if there's a time machine, I think I would go to the future and see how blockchain has impacted humankind, how crypto is as widely accepted as fiat is today, and how refined the way of transferring value. And he's absolutely right, CZ, because seriously, this is going to impact the world, is the way I see it. So buzz of the month, US dollar is not yet dead, even though it has come down a bit. Russian central bank seeks to ban crypto completely. That's unusual. That's a complete turnaround to what they did last time. Coinbase chief legal officer resigned in order to oversee the US national banking system. That's a big job. Mako approves USDC as an alternative collateral for generating DAR, and Justin Sun still accused of censoring Hive-related content. Okay, so just going through very quickly. Dubai has its first blockchain-driven Know Your Client platform. The Bank of England warns that crypto adoption will negatively impact the credit industry. The Marshall Islands digital currency will be based on Algorand. Argentina suspends its blockchain-driven company registration service. Bank, one of the Turkey's biggest banks, has partnered with Binance. Wow, that's interesting. Very interesting. And what else we got here? New York startup Lloyd's has new insurance offering covering crypto stored in hot wallets. That's a great story, because you as an individual hopefully can get insured for what you've got in your hot wallets. Walmart joins Hyperledger along 7 other companies. And Red Swan employment tokenization, 2.2 billion in real estate. So any updates here? Just very quickly, Singapore issues new anti-money laundering guidelines to keep crypto legal. Germany's financial regulators broadens the definition of digital assets. Malta confirms its pro-crypto stance on the record. Also, don't forget, Malta said that Binance didn't have a proper business registration there, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. India, the lower house of India's parliament reveals an investigation into crypto companies operating domestically there. And Russia's central bank seeks to ban crypto completely. That's very strange, because they were very bullish cryptocurrency. Okay, so there's drafts. US hopes not lost for the US dollar. South Korea passes law to introduce permit system cryptocurrency exchange. The Bank of France launches a CB, a central bank digital currency experiment. A US Congress introduces the Cryptocurrency Act of 2020. And India's cryptocurrency is threatened by pending legislation that could outlaw it. So that's pretty much it for the month of March. Very quickly, it's it's just a summarized version from Cointelegraph, but I quite like this. I think it's really interesting, it's just a very quick summary. Anyway, guys, I hope you're well. Please do look after yourself. Please look after your family and friends. Look after your beautiful putty cats, your beautiful dogs, and please look after the environment, the world, and just people in it, just to make this a better place. Thank you.